It's therefore understandable that some Christians have linked recent events with end times persecution of believers described in the book of Revelation, and so argue that the Bible itself predicts in encrypted fashion that the Antichrist would be a Muslim.
Who is the mark of the beast, and were they talking about Islam? Dr. Michael Heiser breaks this down, and he's absolutely fascinating, and he gets straight to the point. Let's get into it.
It's no secret that Christianity in the Middle East, the biblical world, is under severe threat by Islamic terrorists. For example, in 2005, there were 1.5 million Christians in Iraq. Since ISIS has taken over that country, nearly all of them have been driven out of the country and many have been killed.
Wow. That is insane to me to think about. That's only 20 years ago, and this was filmed earlier. There was 1.5 million Christians, and now there's hardly any because of the Islamic regime. That's insane how fast things could change, for sure.
It's therefore understandable that some Christians have linked recent events with end times persecution of believers described in the book of Revelation. Some have tried to produce ancient biblical proof for it in the form of biblical manuscripts, and so argue that the Bible itself predicts in encrypted fashion that the Antichrist would be a Muslim. Now, this isn't the same type of Bible code idea that we've talked about before on Fringe Pop, but it is nevertheless some sort of code thought. So does this particular Bible code idea hold water? Is the Muslim identity of the Antichrist encoded in ancient manuscripts of the New Testament? Let's find out. Revelation 13:18 says, "This calls for wisdom. Let the one who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Now, you can't really see anything from the English. There's no connection apparently.
Right. I just find it fascinating that it says, this calls for wisdom, let the one who understand calculate the number of the beast. So, he's saying, figure this out. But has anyone actually ever figured this out? I don't think so. It's kind of weird also that I just found out that there's 666 comments. We need to change this right now. I just want to point out that for some reason that there's 666 comments. That's kind of ironic. Let's change that because I feel weird. It's weird that this video has 666 comments. So I had to change that. Oh, great. It's still 666. Hopefully it updates later. Let's go continue with the show.
Between 666 and anything Islamic. So what is this particular code idea that wants to identify 666, the identity of the beast, the name of the beast, with a Muslim? Well, if we look at a particular New Testament manuscript, a very old one, 5th century. This is Vaticanus, and this portion is from Revelation 13, and specifically it is Revelation 13:18. If you look down at the third line and the third word moving left to right, there is a word there with 3 letters and a line over it. That particular word is actually the number 666,
wow,
written in Greek hand in the manuscript Vaticanus. You say, well, big deal. What is it about this number that matters for anything? Well, look at it closely. You've got the first letter looks like an X. The second letter really isn't anything that we would use, this sort of vertical squiggle. And the third letter kind of looks like an S with a dot next to it. The dot is actually a scribal mark. If we put, however, below that word, this Arabic, this is the word for Allah. You'll notice.
No. That's kind of sus. But I've known, you can, for the Hebrew letter system and numerical system, they're essentially letters as well. So you could spell out 666, and so many different names actually spell out 666. Like even Hitler, I believe, spelled out 666. But this is fascinating itself.
that most of this word, the second consonant, reading right to left in Arabic, sort of looks like the middle consonant, the middle letter of 666 in this Greek hand. The only difference really is the way they are turned. Now, if I add to the Arabic a little bit more, a few Arabic letters, and then at the end, the familiar crossed swords of Islam, and then I turn that middle consonant on its side, you can see pretty clearly that we've got a situation where the three letters in Vaticanus sort of look like this Arabic with the crossed sword. The Arabic here means Bismillah, which means in the name of Allah. So there are many out there on the internet who look at the writing in Vaticanus and this Arabic phrase with the familiar swords of Islam and say, look, 666 in this Greek manuscript looks an awful like Bismillah, in the name of Allah.
Yeah, but
And
we've learned though, just because something looks similar and they're different languages, doesn't mean anything. That's the major problem, and I'm sure he's gonna say that.
therefore, we should connect the number of the beast with an Islamic terrorist. There are other less obvious problems with this visual correlation. For instance, the issue of paleography, which is the study of handwriting. The letter style in the book of Revelation, specifically the portion we read in Vaticanus, is something scholars call the minuscule script, minuscule handwriting. This is not the handwriting style of all first century Greek New Testament manuscripts that are currently known. That letter style is called uncial, and it is written in all capital letters in Greek. Now, Vaticanus is a little bit unusual because it has both handwriting styles in the manuscript, which tells us that two different scribes produced it at different times. After Hebrews 9:13, Vaticanus is written in the much later minuscule hand. Before that, we have the uncial script that all of the earliest manuscripts are written in. To illustrate it, here in this image, we have uncial script. You can see that it is quite visually different than the earlier example in Vaticanus that we saw. We have block letters, capital letters, again, all running into each other. We don't have letter and word separations or scribal marks like we do with minuscule style. It's quite different. Now, the point of all this is not just a paleography lesson. The point is that the original text of the book of Revelation would not have been in the handwriting style that looks like Arabic.
Yeah.
If we again go with the authorship of the book of Revelation, the Apostle John, in the first century, by the end of the first century, his handwriting style, as all handwriting styles of all known Greek New Testament manuscripts, would have been in the block letter style.
Yeah, and did I say Hebrew? No, I meant Greek, obviously. If I said Hebrew, I'm sorry. But it's totally different. We learned you can't just say, oh, this language here, this is how so many people, this is how Islam tries to prove that Muhammad is in the Bible by comparing two words that sound really similar to Hebrew and Arabic. And the problem is those languages aren't anywhere close to each other. It doesn't make sense. And this is like the same thing here.
It would not have looked anything like Arabic. Frankly, not even close. Another problem is that Arabic script as we know it, as we've seen it, didn't exist in the first century when John wrote. You can't find it anywhere at all. The Arabic alphabetic script that we've been looking at, and that we're fairly familiar with, is first attested in the 7th century AD,
Wow.
600 years after John wrote the book of Revelation. That script evolved from something called Nabatean. Again, the point is not a history of ancient languages. The point is that John, the writer of the book of Revelation under inspiration, could not have been reproducing classical Arabic script it didn't exist. Now, to summarize and conclude, a very simple but, in this case, telling thought.
Before he does, some people could say, well, that's the hand of God. He knew and would have known that this language would be formed and this Arabic alphabet would be there. That's just to point out. But that still doesn't mean anything.
Just because something looks like something else doesn't mean that it's the something else. I subscribe on Twitter to a feed called Faces in Things. It's kind of fun. There's a photographer who takes pictures of everyday things, scenes in life, and the whole point of each one is that your eye will see the photograph and think it's a particular thing, in this case a face with some sort of expression, when the thing photographed isn't that at all. We also have a phenomenon known as pareidolia, where we see shapes and images in pictures.
Also, this alien just creeped me out. I just realized it's there. And now they have the AI where they have pictures of random things, people doing things or whatever, and you squint your eyes and then it looks like Jesus or whatever. I've also seen those.
Patterns. And our brain sort of identifies the pattern as a particular thing that we know from our experience. But that doesn't mean that what we're looking at is that thing. And that's what we have going on here with the script of Vaticanus, again, the minuscule script of that particular manuscript in Revelation 13:8, and a visual similarity with Arabic for Bismillah, and then, of course, the crossed swords of Islam. It is just simply a coincidence, and frankly, not a very good one, because as we saw, two of the required letters really don't look alike. You have to change them. You have to do something to them to make them match. And that, frankly, is just never really a good method.
Nope.
And we know that John would not have been writing what looks like Arabic in the first century because of the entirety of New Testament manuscripts going back to the second, first century. It just doesn't exist. That handwriting style literally does not exist. And Arabic itself did not exist until the 7th century AD. So we have here, again, just a visual piece of imagination. 666 does not point to a Muslim Antichrist.
Wow, that's crazy. So don't be looking for a Muslim Antichrist, guys, according to Michael Heiser, at least. So I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments below, whatever that may be. And don't get my comments to 666. That would not be okay. Let's see now if I update this. It won't be 666 comments. Aha! Guys, it is now 667. Let's go. Have an amazing day. God bless.